At length did cross an albatross. Thorough the fog it came. And an it were a Christian soul, we hailed it in God's name. The mariners gave it biscuit worms, and round it flew. The ice did split with a thunder fit. The helmsman steered us through. And a good south wind did spring up behind. The albatross did follow. And every day for food or play came to the mariners hollow. In mist or cloud, on mast or shroud, it perched for vespers 9, whiles all the night through fog smoke white, glimmer the white moon shine. God save thee, ancient mariner, from the fiends that plague thee dust. Why look'st thou so? With my crossbow, I shot the albatross.
Perhaps you will build a Swill warband sometime soon.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Swill, swill, swill. There is a lot that I like about it. Having an ocean made out of crude oil is a very cool idea, and the boats made of sentient meat are awesome, but I did not glom onto it when it was first released. Something about Turnip 28 and that juxtaposition of the mundane, lowly root vegetable contrasted against the bright uniforms and the pomp and circumstance of Napoleonic regiments, it just really tickled me deep inside my soul. It works on so many levels. It's like an onion. It's got layers. And with Swill, you've got meat-powered machines, which does feel like a serviceable commentary on the Industrial Revolution, but it did not hit me with that same poignant punch that made me instantly fall in love with Turnip. But it's about time that I actually download the rulebook, check it out, and give it a good old college try. Originally, I did just assume that Swill and Scabs were one and the same game, and that it was a Gorka Morka situation where your warband consisted of both your transport vehicle and also the crew that would ride on it. So I was a little bit disappointed to find out that actually Swill and Scabs are just two entirely separate games. My last minor concern with Swill is that it's just a bit harder to kit bash for, just because there's less accessibility in terms of options of pre-existing models that land on that spectrum between Fishman and miniature wearing late 19th century Londoner garb. That having been said, Swill is all still extremely new and in early access playtest mode, so the criticism that I am levying against it might be very much so on the unfair side. This is just my first impression upon actually finally learning about the game for the first time and putting together some dudes for it. And here's our warband so far. Our leader is the Burk, big guy is the Rotter, we got 5 Wretches, and the small guy is the Twerp. And while I'm making this warband, I'm also going to put together a bunch of dudes for Turnip 28, who I will perhaps contrivably force into being Swill adjacent in some thematic way. And as I finish prepping all my dudes, I'm going to use this opportunity to say a few words about those suffering-fueled machines that are industrially revolutionizing their way into our real life. I could probably ramble for 2 hours about my American History X-esque arc that I've had regarding my thoughts on Gen AI and its use in the realm of the creative, but I'll see if I can condense it down to like 4 sentences. Long story short, I fell for the plausibility of the legitimacy of the democratization of art argument. We all know there's this whole tragedy of the countless number of people of Einstein's talents that have died in cotton fields and sweatshops, and I really liked the idea that this technology would diminish that effect in the world of impoverished artists. But in reality, 0.000% of Brazilian auteurs from the slums have built any blockbuster Citizen Kanes for 150 reals, and not a single Hollywood has been toppled. But in the actualized, tangible world we live in, we are starting to see the complete opposite of the democratization of art begin to occur, as a handful of multi-millionaire directors and producers are now making movies and series, and are cutting out the hundreds of people that would make 5 figures that would have otherwise been involved. All of this leads me to tell you about a man with a vision by the name of General Ludd. And a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, here we go.
No, chant your old rhymes about bold Robin Hood. His feats I do little admire. I'll sing the achievements of General Ludd, now the hero of Nottinghamshire. Brave Ludd was to measures of violence unused, till his sufferings became so severe, that at last to defend his own interest he roused, and for the great fight did prepare.
Let's talk Ned Ludd. Not a real guy, unfortunately, but the Luddites were very real. They had a battle at one Rolfold's Mill, and these guys were not playing around. They were getting shot and killed and executed in their mission to smash wide frames. It's an unfair characterization that Luddite has become a derogatory term for someone who resists technology for no good reason, because they had about as rational of a reason as you could ask for. They were all on track to become homeless, they were desperate and jobless, and they needed food for their babies. Now the same cannot be said for the guys that I am making here, for these are the Lumpites. They hate technology because of its association with fish, and they hate fish because it doesn't taste as good in a pottage of stew as a proper turnip does. So now these Lumpites and their leader, Nip Lump, is on a mission to kill all Swill. And I'm just popping a few highlights on their flesh tone, and here I'm very carefully dotting the eyes of the face shields with some white. I'm also working on an artillery crew from Leech Lover Laboratory. Now, originally I was using a random artillery crew from Perry Minis for my Grand Bombard, but these guys are just a million billion times more characterful. But I don't want my OG crew to go to waste. So I am converting them to be Rocketeers. So let's talk some rocketry, specifically the Congreve rocket of
And the rocket's red glare.
fame. Named after the British guy who stole the idea from India, Sir William Congreve. It was a piece of artillery used in the Napoleonic Wars to mixed results. Rockets are very scary to have shot at you, and they are extremely light when compared to the weight of lugging around a cannon and cannonballs. But they are very unpredictable and pretty much kind of impossible to aim beyond just over there-ish. But their ability to light stuff on fire made them particularly effective in naval warfare. And my favorite tidbit that I've learned about these rockets is that they were used on a whaling ship to hunt whales, and were apparently pretty effective. So there's my tip of the day to all my whalers out there. And I'm working on 2 rocket batteries here for the Court of St. Alame's Fireworks Fanatics. One of them is a wrecked Swill steam scabber and is being used as a platform to deliver torpedoes. And the other is a classic style rocket battery, but it's got a hand painted on it with all the fingers blown off, because the more fingers you have missing, the more dedicated of a worshipper you are. But, you know, they had to keep the middle finger so that they could continue to make rude gestures at their enemies. Texture slop goes on the bases. I used to waste a lot of time with a bunch of steps like dry brushing and such on the mud just for it to get covered up. Now I just do a good old simple brown wash. Some ooh-hoo-oohs will make the oil blood of a fish monster that our rotter is stabbed. A quick little cleanup of the rims. And finally, a painting of the rims. And these guys are officially good enough for now. Hello guys, I've got a quick little intermission, a little call to action, because now I've got all of these turnip models, and I figure it's probably about time that I actually try to find people to play this Turnip 28 game with. So if you are in the Philadelphia-ish area and you are interested in getting some games in, then watch this next part. Otherwise, you can skip ahead. Okay, so step 1, you're gonna want to Google the Turnip 28 Discord, click that first link. Click that Discord, and then it'll ask you to accept. Then you can scroll down, and once you see looking for players under trading post, you can click on that. Then you can scroll all the way up until you see Philadelphia Turnip Feeds. Then you can click on that. You can click on this little bell, and then check off all messages, and or you can click these 3 dots and click join thread. So here's where I'm going to congregate and hopefully meet some turnip enjoyers, and we can get some games in. And you know, if we get a good couple of people, then maybe we can even get a little group going. That would be super duper awesome. Okay, and with that out of the way, we can now check out how our Swill band has come out. And here is the Swill band complete. My favorite guy has got to be the one with his tongue sticking out. And I think at some point in the future, I'm going to have to build them a proper barge to sail around on. And I want to use an RC boat as a base so that it is literally actually seaworthy. And here is my take on Galahad. That bird on his head is intended to be a kingfisher because they eat fish. And that was about the extent of my thought process on that. And our unit of Lumpites, which I wanted to give the champion the Ben Affleck Phoenix back tattoo, but I think that is going to have to wait until I'm able to level up my freehanding skills. The Scab Steamer Pequod. It is named as a reference to the result that appears when you Google famous fictional ship names. I think I'm going to have to add a big rock jutting out of the front to make it look properly shipwrecked, because right now it kind of just looks like it's emerging from out of the ground. Then here is the Congreve style rocket battery, and I think I'm going to have to add some black stripes to those white missiles, because something about that solid white just looks off. Last and most least, we have Blunderous Bertha, the Great Bombard, and her crew. I absolutely love the two guys. They're going to have to somehow Sisyphus that massive cannonball into the mouth of the cannon. Well, that's everything that I've got for today. So hit me up if you're trying to play some Turnip or some Swill, and if anyone has got any recommendations for what I should make next, please let me know in the comments. I remain your most humble and obedient servant. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.